Yeah, that was a joke.
No, man, you called it.
And then the Broncos, I guess this is what tells me I shouldn't run an NFL organization because the Broncos did what I said and they're a dumpster fire. All right, Fam Jam. So we are in season 2 of Bropinions, episode number 3. And first off, I want to say it is Fat Tuesday. So happy Mardi Gras to everybody out there. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your purple, green, and gold cladded event day. If not, go grab some king cake, have some fun, and inspire yourselves with a little bit of Mardi Gras fun.
I just if you're not watching on YouTube, you should go check that out. I just now got the outfit because you were saying before it doesn't match what you're going for, and we even were talking about how none of what you're wearing matches at all. But now I get it. So
But it works. So welcome in John the Stone, Nikki P.
What up? What up?
Another analytical day. It's Tuesdays around here. That's what we do.
Tuesdays are big brain day. And today
So
we got a little bit of a grab bag for you guys. So
yeah, we'll start off with the big brain of John the Stone.
oh, I don't know about that now, but yeah, we just got a little bit of a grab bag of different things we want to talk about with you all today, and we'll just dive right into it. So first off, apparently, breaking news: Eric Bieniemy hates winning Super Bowls and decided he didn't want to do that ever again. And he's now the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. So you go from reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs to the Washington Commanders. Now, I joke about him not wanting to win. I think he is a good offensive. Well, I guess we're going to find out if he's a good offensive coordinator or if he's just a byproduct of an Andy Reid system.
Right.
I think it is unfortunate. He's been one of the names in contention for like a head coach job for like the last 2 or 3 seasons, and he just never has gotten one. And apparently, owners and GMs know something that we don't necessarily. And I don't know. I think he's got to be a decent coach just from the exposure that he's gotten, but we'll see if his own offense that he can actually call himself is going to be any good. What do you guys think about that hire there?
Yeah, like you said, we'll see. I mean, Pat seems to be big on him. The team seems to be big on him. LaShawn McCoy does not. I don't know if you've seen Shady McCoy talking about Eric Bieniemy. He hates that guy. He says there's a reason he's not been a head coach. It's because he's not a good coach. I mean, let's take this with a grain of salt. He was benched by the guy, so I mean, all due respect, he probably hates the man's guts. But no, I mean, it's like I alluded to in our last episode. There's a reason Eric Bieniemy hasn't got a job, and we're about to find out why. Either he's not a good coach, or the league's racist. I mean, that's really all there is to it. It's one of those two things, and we're gonna find out this year.
Well, we could also be both of those things, but we don't have to get into that.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, those are not mutually exclusive. I think it could be both of those things, but
Yeah, no, I saw that video of Shady McCoy talking mad shit about him, and that was it was interesting. But like you said, he did get benched by the guy, so there's probably a little resentment there. So
definitely.
Next up, and Nick, you actually brought this up. I don't know if you want to take this one and we'll dive into it.
Yeah, sure. I think the next one on our list is the Sean Payton throwing a hissy fit, like Sean Payton does. So he came out after getting hired by the Broncos after they traded the house to get him, saying he wants to ban the push play that the Eagles run so effectively, saying that they plan on running it every single year or every single play if it's not banned. It's just sort of like I'm taking my ball and I'm going home type of mentality. It's just so weak. I mean, if I'm a Broncos fan, I'm shitting my pants. This is not the look that I want. I mean, the fiasco you get with Russell Wilson last year, and then you got Sean Payton coming out and whining about rule changes that 95% of the league doesn't implement. Philly, can you do this? Because Jalen Hurts squats 600 pounds, okay? Like,
Right.
please try this with Russell Wilson. We're going to see this get blown up again and again and again and again. If they don't ban it, I think it's weak if they do. I don't understand the logic. It's just a QB sneak with a little extra push. If it was that good of a play, everybody would be doing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thought, right? If it was that good, everybody would be doing it. But like you said, not everybody has a QB that can squat 600 pounds. So, yeah, I think it's just a whine fest. And I think it's funny because you sounded like the Cartman whine there, and that was what I saw on Twitter. Everybody was like, this sounds like a Cartman
I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. It's just so sad. It's weak, man. It's like, what are we getting to in the NFL? We've already talked about like roughing the passer calls, and now we're banning QB sneaks. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, well, and shout out to New Heights with the Kelsey brothers there. They just gave their followers a name, I think, like the 92 percenters, and that's because they had this clip, and it was like 92% of the time a QB sneak. It's like 92% effective to get 1 yard. So
Right. And it's like they've come up with a good strategy. Figure out how to stop it. That's how the NFL's always been. A team comes up with something new. You know, you get the Sean McVays of the NFL, and then NFL defenses start figuring out how to do this. These defensive coordinators start to catch up. That's the beauty of the game. That's the fun part, is when a team discovers a new wrinkle. I mean, think about the Philly special. How many people tried to run that play after it worked in the Super Bowl and it didn't work? I mean, teams figured out how to stop it. You just got to figure out how to stop it. It's just a QB sneak at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I imagine we'll see a few teams try to run that play that KC did during the Super Bowl. The corn dog.
Right.
As
the misdirections, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know, we talked for a while. I don't know the last episode, maybe the one before that, about officiating, and you know, the rules committee is its own thing. But you know, they were also talking about making that penalty where, you know, they like grab the hip and then they just basically just drop their weight and it
dead weight
them up. And I think it's the play. We saw a lot of injuries happen, like Tony Pollard. I think that was the play where he fractured his his fibula or something. And I think that was also the same play that Pat Mahomes got the ankle sprain on. So, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, trying to make the game safer. I totally get that. But at the same time, you're also making it more and more difficult for these guys to actually play the game.
Especially defenders, man. I mean, like, you got to think, like, how do you tackle somebody now?
Right.
Because you can't hit them with your full body weight. If you hit them with your head, you're getting thrown out of the game. Now they're talking about banning body weight tackles, and it's like, I understand to a degree people get hurt doing stuff like that, but at the end of the day, that's the type of risk you got to realize and be involved, or that's the risk you got to understand to be involved in a game like professional football. It sucks that people are getting injured, but at the same time, like, why don't we just turn it into flag football if we're getting rid of everything that the defense can do? It just kind of, it just doesn't seem congruent to a good product. I don't see it happening. I don't think that those rules will pass, but you know, obviously we'll see. Crazier things have happened.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I think like you were saying, there's sort of an assumed risk, and I'm not saying these guys should go out here and, you know, tear ACLs every game. You know, obviously you want everybody to stay safe and healthy, but there is an assumed risk of, you know, you're playing a sport professionally at that high level. You're getting paid very well to do so, and there is a bit of an assumed risk with, you know, just the nature of what you do. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see throughout the off season, you know, what changes they have coming down the pipe. So yeah, so let's see here. Yeah, Giants. The Giants, man, go figure. The Giants would mess this up.
Yeah.
We talked before about how they have multiple free agents that they need to figure out, right? Specifically with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley.
Right.
And talks have not started out well at all. And we can get into it here. But let's talk first about Daniel Jones and just the sheer audacity, first of all. So if you haven't seen this, Daniel Jones reportedly wants 40 to 45 million a year. And I don't have the numbers in front of me for how that would stack him against the rest of the league, but that's not cheap. And
yeah, Danny's asking for some dimes. That's for sure. Danny's asking for some dimes. Hey man, 45 mil. I mean, look, I understand there's not really a mid-tier QB market. It's high tier or low tier. That's it. There's not really a mid-tier QB market, but Daniel Jones ain't the guy I'm paying $45 million a year. I'm just gonna put it like that.
So I just looked it up because I was curious, and so per year, that would put him 45 exactly. Would put him on pace with Pat Mahomes, who just won a Super Bowl. Now, that being said, there are some crazier ones. I think the most expensive right now is Rodgers. He's making over $50 million a year. And then you got
Deshaun Watson, obviously.
And you got Russell Wilson making $49 million a year. And then Kyler and Deshaun both making 46. And then Josh Allen making 43. So yeah, he wants to get that money. He wants to get that like Matt Stafford to Pat Mahomes money, and I just don't see it. I think he's more in like the 30 range.
15, 20. Let's be real, bro. Daniel Jones is not the guy that's going to take you to a Super Bowl. I'm not paying him anything close to what Josh Allen makes. Look, if I'm the GM in New York, I'm sitting him down. I'm going to be like, look, DJ, I love what you did this season. I'm not paying you anything close to what that kid in Buffalo's making. I'm sorry. If you got to walk, because I don't believe another team has either. I really don't see it happening. I don't see Daniel Jones staying with the Giants anymore. I think that that number is ridiculous. I don't see any team paying him $45 million. And then to piggyback off that, the Giants don't even want to pay Saquon $10 million a year.
Yeah, well, and so like, and this is the crazy thing is that, and this is, don't, like, if you're an aspiring football player and you want to play in the NFL, do not become a running back, because it's not worth it. Just the toll on your body for what you're going to get compensated versus any other position, it is not worth it at all. Go be a backup kicker or something, or switch defense. Transition
to wide receiver. Hit that jugs machine. Start working on them hands, son, because there's no way in hell you're making a bag as a running back in the NFL.
Because, I mean, arguably, Saquon is he's a top 5 running back, right? As far as, like, being a difference maker for a team.
I mean, top 3. I mean, how many running backs in the NFL are better than Saquon Barkley? Like, really?
Yeah, I mean, right, exactly. And to not want to pay him $10 million a year, and you've got your mid, at best, QB asking for $45 million.
Asking for 45 M's. This man's asking for $45 million a year. You're not Steph Curry, Daniel Jones. You're not making $40 million a year, bro. I'm sorry. It's not happening. What planet do you live on?
Did you see that he fired his agent?
Yeah, he got a new agent, too. It's like, I don't know, man. Daniel Jones seems to exist on a realm of this earth that we don't. Because I don't know how you have the audacity, the caucasity to ask for $45 million a year, bro.
He said the caucasity. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I think, unfortunately, like, if I imagine how this is going to play out, I think Jones walks, he goes somewhere else to try to get more money. And I think, unfortunately, they're going to end up franchise tagging Saquon or something, unless he's willing to take a pay cut.
Well, they said they don't even want to pay him the franchise money, like the franchise tag money. Yeah, they came out and said that they don't even want to pay him the $10 million that the franchise tag is worth.
I mean, Dave Gettleman is the worst, dude. He's like Jim Irsay level.
I mean, like, bro, like, are you even trying at this point? Like, are you going to come out and say, yeah, Daniel Jones is good, but, we're only going to give him like $5 million a year? Like what?
Now watch him pay Daniel Jones and then let Saquon walk. Oh, my God.
Right. Yeah. Just doing the Giants thing that the Giants always do.
Right. All right, well, let's move on. Indianapolis has a new offensive coordinator, a fun guy and a fun name that we all love to pronounce, at least I do. And spent a lot of time in Detroit and actually did pretty well. But Jim Bob Cooter is the new Indianapolis OC. He was also the former Jaguars passing game coordinator. But he was the OC for Detroit, right? Pretty sure that's accurate.
Yeah, he was the offensive coordinator for Detroit, and he was the passing game coordinator for the Jags. Okay. So he only did their passing. I've never heard of that position in my life.
Passing
game coordinator. I've never heard of that position. But hey, apparently he told Trevor how to throw the ball. I think he's worked with Trevor. He's worked with Peyton Manning before. worked with Matthew Stafford in Detroit. So, like, he's definitely got some acumen for sure.
I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, so like don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure he was the Detroit OC when Calvin Johnson was there, right?
I don't know. Jim Bob Cooter. I mean, it sounds right. It sounds like the right name.
Anyway, well, whether that was right or not, it probably is not right. But he is the new OC for the Indianapolis Colts, so hopefully they can get something going there. They need to figure out their quarterback problem. Really the whole offense. So he's got his work cut out for him there, for sure. And then
OC from 2015 to 2019.
Okay. Thank you for that.
When did Calvin retire?
Yeah,
2016.
Calvin Johnson, he retired in 2015, or after the 2015 season, I should say.
So Jim Bob did not get a chance to coach with him, but he did coach Stafford.
Yeah, he did.
And it's not like that offense was any worse without Calvin.
I mean, let's face it, with the Colts, anything's going to be better than what they had last year. So, I mean, he definitely
that's a fact, yeah.
He has his work cut out for him, but the bar is also set very low. So.
Right. I mean, what do you got to lose,
Right.
I mean, like, you can't do worse than Jeff Saturday and Matt Ryan. So...
Yeah, there's something freeing about that kind of YOLO mentality, too. It's like, you got nothing to lose. It can't get any worse. Just go out there and do what you do and make some stuff happen.
Right.
Georgia, why don't we let you take this one since, you actually kind of somewhat predicted this during our episode where we did that about the top candidate for the Broncos DC job.
Yeah, that was a joke.
No, man, you called it.
And then the Broncos, I guess this is what tells me I shouldn't run an NFL organization because the Broncos did what I said, and they're a dumpster fire.
Oh, man, the Broncos listened to the show, and they're like, hey, you know what? That's not a bad idea, actually.
I hope Sean
Must
Payton
have been.
listens to this show.
Oh, yeah, I hope Sean Payton listens to this show, too, after we call him a whiny bitch. So.
Yeah. Sean Payton, if you're listening, you.
Well, I don't know if we officially actually said, but the top candidate, quote, for the Broncos defensive coordinator job is actually Rex Ryan, who was last coaching the Buffalo Bills and was fired, went to ESPN, I think, to be an analyst, and now he's emerged as the top favorite for that job. So, Sean Payton really said, you know what, let's just go grab all these old guys and, let me complain about some more rules and, we'll see.
What was that movie that, it was like Morgan Freeman and Bruce Willis and basically all the old action stars getting together for like one last movie? Yeah. That's what they're doing in Broncos. That's what they're doing in Denver, man. The Broncos just got a old coach kind of thing going on. I don't know whose tires they're going to kick next. Let's see who else they pull out of the woodwork for this shit show.
Yeah, but they're trying to make something like they think they're Yellowstone, and yet they just come off more as, "Hi, I'm Sean Payton. Welcome to Jackass."
Right.
But the problem is both of those shows were actually good. So
yeah.
And I'll and then the other thing, you compared it to Red. Red is actually is not a bad movie either. So I don't know what to compare this Broncos team to other than just a dumpster fire. So
the retirement home. I mean, this is
like
just a bunch of geriatrics coaching a bunch of 20-year-olds on how to play football. Man, let's be real.
It's like someone built, their like Madden Ultimate Team, and just as the Broncos. All right, moving on. Nikki P, do you want to take this one with our? So actually, let's talk about this because I think last time we brought it up, it was just speculation and rumor, but it did officially happen. The Eagles lost. They no longer have their OC and DC that they did from last year. They both got head coaching jobs. Their DC, I believe, Jonathan Gannon, is now the new head coach for the Arizona Cardinals, and then their OC, Shane Steichen, is now the head coach for what team was it? I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank.
Who hired Steichen? I don't remember.
Oh wait, it was the Colts. Duh.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So they both of their coordinators got head coaching jobs, well deserved. I mean, from the team and everything we saw from them. But yeah, Nicky P, you were telling us about some interesting plans that Gannon has for the Cardinals there.
Yeah, he came out and had a pretty interesting interview. He was talking about how he wants to use Kyler under center a little bit more, which I like because Kyler took like 95% of his snaps in the gun last year, which was by far and away the highest in the NFL. I think it was higher than even Jalen Hurts, who was like 3 or 4% lower. So I think it's a nice mix-up. Maybe obviously we'll see how it works. Whether it's a dumpster fire, whether it actually pans out, we'll have to wait to see. But I like that idea. It's kind of taking the pressure off of Kyler and making it like less of a Kyler Murray is our entire offense, and like, hey, we have other weapons here. We have DeAndre Hopkins. We have James Conner. We can get an offensive line, maybe a couple more targets. This is looking like a pretty legit offense. And then he also came out and said, right, yeah. I mean, it's like that was really their problem last year. Their defense kept them in games that their offense couldn't finish. Obviously marred with a ton of injuries as well. I kind of expect that Cardinals team to be a little surprising next year. I think they can make a run to the playoffs. I think they could be a team, not necessarily that'll run deep into the playoffs, but they'll be like a surprise like the Jags were this year, I think. Gannon did also say that he would not have taken the Arizona job if Kyler Murray wasn't there, which I think speaks more to, because I personally, I'm not a Kyler Murray hater. I'm not somebody who thinks he's like one of those diva kids. I think, some of the stories were a little bit exaggerated about him. I mean, I've seen the kid put in a lot of work after this ACL injury. I mean, he's already recovering super fast. So, I think that team's probably going to take a next step next year. I think they're going to look pretty good. I think the Cardinals are going to surprise a few people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Kyler Murray hater either. I do think that he has grown up, at least from what I can tell, over the last few seasons. There was that big stink. I think it was not maybe this past season or the one before, where about like that clause in his contract with the required film study and everything, because apparently he likes to play Call of Duty a lot. And there was even a thread on Reddit, and I can't remember who posted it, so I can't give you props. So sorry about that. But there was somebody who actually did like an in-depth statistical analysis of like Kyler's performance on like COD double XP weekends versus not.
Right.
And there was like actually a significant difference between his performance when there was no double XP weekend versus not. So, but yeah, I mean, I've seen his progress too with his ACL, and I think I think this will be good for him. I would like to see him under center more, and I also think that it's interesting because we actually talked about when we were previewing who we thought might get that head coaching job, and you were saying that their defense was pretty good. So you thought they were going to go with an offensive-minded coach. I thought they would go with defensive to change things up. They ended up going defensive. But really, it's really just a matter of, if you come from a defensive background, if you can get an OC that really complements you and, can hold their own. You look at the Chiefs with Andy Reid, obviously a very gifted offensive mind, and then he's got Steve, is it Spagnuolo?
Mm-hmm. Steve Spagnuolo
on the other side, who they complement each other really well. That's working for them. So, I mean, I think the Cardinals could be a sneaky team next year. Like you said, they have all the weapons. They just got to put it all together. So,
yeah, I mean, it's one of those teams that it's like you get a defensive-minded head coach. I mean, I think about the Falcons when they had Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan. You find that right offensive coordinator. It doesn't matter who your head coach is. You can still have one of the best offenses in the league. Obviously, they got to replace J.J. Watt. There's been talk about them moving DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see what happens with that. But I like the Cardinals. They were coached really well defensively last year. Played really well defensively. I think that they can repeat. I think that they can be a little bit better next year. Somebody who actually understands. Not necessarily to say that Cliff Kingsbury didn't understand, but it's just like somebody who understands the NFL game a little bit more. Somebody who has a little bit more experience than a college coach.
Yeah, somebody who's not off in Thailand somewhere on it.
Right.
Real quick, just want to touch on this note too. Aaron Jones did take a pay cut to stay in Green Bay. I can't remember what he was supposed to get, but I think the restructured thing now is he's going to get $11 million, and I think a little over 8 of that is going to be a signing bonus, just to open up some cap space there in Green Bay. And then, Georgia, why don't you take this next one again? Since you're rocking the Mardi Gras New Orleans attire there.
Yeah, it looks like Alvin Kamara has been indicted on the battery charges from last year's Pro Bowl incident. Not sure about exactly what happened, so I don't want to speculate.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, this was kind of what was looming over him all season long, right? It was, people were wondering, well, is it going to come down? Is he going to get suspended mid-season? And it was kind of a, no one really knew what was going on. So I don't know if it was just because of the season or they just wanted to wait, but yeah, news did come out that he did get indicted on those charges from last year, so not this past year, but the year before, from that Pro Bowl. In the incident, I believe it was at a nightclub. I can't remember 100%, so I don't want to speculate, but I believe what it was is he was at a nightclub. Someone said something to him, and he and his group of guys that he was with kind of beat up on this guy. And I think the guy who was attacked is pressing charges, from what I understand and remember correctly. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, not a great situation for him or for the Saints, but it's the Saints, so who really cares?
Right.
Yeah. So let's that kind of wraps up all the NFL news, I suppose, that we had. But let's move on to some current football. The next generation of football, if you will. The one, the only XFL. And there's actually some pretty decent highlights, and I was pleasantly surprised with how these games turned out. And I didn't get to watch as much as I would have liked to, but I saw a bunch of highlights, and I think I'm loving the XFL so far. And the rules that they have implemented, I think, are working very well. And I would love for the NFL to adopt some of these, although that will probably never ever happen. But
I myself, I'm a huge fan of the rule set that they've got. 3-point conversions. You've got, instead of a kickoff, you can decide on a 4th and 15, and if you convert it, you get the ball instead of an onside kick. I think that was talked about in the NFL a couple years ago, but then it didn't get enough votes to pass. I think that's a very interesting concept. I think it adds a little bit more intrigue to games. If you can convert this 15 yards, you're rolling. You might be able to come back. I think a team did come back because of their crazy rule sets. Like you said, there were a couple really good plays. Former Falcon Vic Beasley got a pass breakup, shockingly enough. He didn't do much else the game. But then there was that crazy, I don't know if you saw the clip, but Ben DiNucci flipping it to Josh Gordon for the touchdown, like the Patrick Mahomes-esque like backflip. It was pretty nice. I'm not going to lie. It looked pretty cool.
No, I missed that one, but I'm sure NFL Twitter was freaking out over a Josh Gordon touchdown. So.
Right. First time in a long time, so.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the rules, but I'm loving the rules. I mean, they have the tiered extra points. So, from the 2-yard line is 1, 5-yard line is 2, 10-yard line is 3. I love, and I really like, of all the rules, I really love that 4th and 15 conversion rule. So, to break it down for you, basically, the teams have 2 options to keep the ball after scoring. They can either try the traditional onside kick, which the NFL obviously does, which has a horrible conversion rate that hardly ever
right.
Or they can go for a 4th and 15 conversion from their own 25-yard line, and this is only in the 4th quarter. So basically, the 4th quarter only, instead of an onside kick, you can try to convert that 4th and 15. And like you said, we already saw it pay dividends. So some team, I think St. Louis, I forget who they were playing, but they were down like 15-3, I think. So they get a touchdown, so now it's like 15-9, and then they get an extra point, but then they get that conversion, and then they drive down the score again, and they ended up winning like 18-15. I mean, talk about like an exciting 2 minutes of football.
Right.
Right. I would love.
Yeah, and definitely giving those second half teams a little bit of extra juice just to get it done, get those comebacks completed, get those interesting games in there. Obviously it's a lower quality of football than the NFL, That's going to take some adjusting, getting used to. But I do like the idea of the XFL. I like the idea of the USFL. You know, smaller leagues give more opportunities for more players, more media folks. You know, maybe guys like us. You know, people who otherwise would never have had an opportunity. You know, it's a really cool thing, as well as on top of everything, we get to see cool rule changes be implemented. We get to see a league that's more like, oh, we want to please fans rather than keeping our bottom line. Okay. Right, this is a league that has a lot to prove. They've got to sell us on that. So I think they're doing a pretty good job. First week of games was pretty entertaining. Hopefully they can keep it up.
Yeah, well, and I think at the end of the day, it's a lower tier quality of football, right? But it's fun and it's entertaining. And I think, obviously The Rock being, I think, one of the co-owners or the majority owner of the XFL, he's very familiar with, sports entertainment with his time in WWE and, playing football himself, and then just everything that he's done and accomplished. So I think, he had this vision, and I think so far it's working out pretty well. Where it's not the NFL, it will never be the NFL, but it's fun and it's engaging. I think, that's what people want to see, especially during this time of year where, the Super Bowl's over, there's no NFL football. It's not really any major news going on other than, like some rookie stuff, incoming rookie stuff. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's fun. And I think, this time around, I think it will be much more successful than it was the first time around. So
yeah, absolutely. It seems to be structured in a much better way. Hopefully the finances are right. Obviously we don't have, any sort of information as far as that goes. I'm hoping it sticks around. I do like there being a competitor to major sports organizations. I think it's a good thing for the sport ultimately, because it gets more eyes on more people. It gives more people more opportunities, and I think that's always a good thing. I did just want to touch on, you talking about how there's, we've now gotten to this point. Super Bowl's over. There's a slow trickle. Everything's going on. Just want to, give our viewers a heads up on what our podcast is going to look like here moving forward. So obviously we are going to talk about free agents. We're going to talk about, coach hirings. We're going to talk about drafts. We're going to talk about stuff like that. But we didn't want to get too super speculative into stuff like that. So we're not going to be doing a ton of mock drafts and things like that. We're probably going to focus a little bit more on like baseball here in the coming months. We'll obviously pick up the more football news as things ramp up, with free agency coming here in the next couple weeks, then the draft coming within the next couple months, and then obviously we'll pick football back up in the season. But as that lulls, we're going to start talking about a few different sports and things like that, things like NHL, things like MLB. Maybe we might touch on MMA, stuff like that. Maybe some other sports that we might be looking at, but we'll see moving forward.
Yeah, no, for sure. Georgia, any thoughts before we move on to our next bullet point here?
No, it's just touching on that. Well, I mean, any of the big stuff, like obviously the Stanley Cup, that's a nationwide. Even people that don't really watch hockey will watch that. The NBA Finals, I don't watch NBA games, but I watch the Finals every year because it's a championship. You want to be mostly in the know on those things. So yeah, any of those big type. I don't think the College World Series we'll touch on, but
right, like March Madness maybe. Yeah.
Definitely the draft. When the NFL draft happens, we'll hit MLB hard on opening day. But there's so many games that they play that there's so many different lines. We won't dive like super deep. I'm sure we'll go into the Braves, and I was actually at the Madri yesterday looking around, and there's already a buzz, and they had a couple of talking heads talking about the Braves looking to be in Caesars Sportsbet, and I checked it has the Braves #1 odds to win the World Series this year, which I kind of don't understand with the question of shortstop looking at Vaughn Grissom. The Mets overpaid. They all think that, but the Astros are like 5th, and I still think the Astros have a hellacious offense. The Dodgers are going to be the Dodgers. The Mets could make a push, but they did lose some pieces. But losing Freeman and Dansby the past 2 years, with Fried's contract coming up at the end of this year, and AA not really spending the money to keep those franchise kids, I don't know if Fried stays. Hopefully he does. I like our rotation. I've always been a pitcher guy. But yeah, we'll look at that. And then any of the big sports championships, obviously we're going to touch on, because we know that everybody cares about that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I love hearing that they were favorites to win the World Series. I mean,
yeah, 14%. They are a 14%. Nobody else is in double digits, and I don't get that. Maybe that's the Georgian in me going, I'm not overly confident about anything here. We know that, even as a Georgia fan with back-to-back natties. I'm sitting here going like, look, man, we could go 3-9. I don't know, I don't really believe we're going to go 3-9, but that is, the Caesar Sportsbook has the Braves as a 14%, the highest percent to win the World Series, which I would love. I had a great time going down to the Battery at the last World Series, watching the final game in Houston. That was magical. It took me back to 95. So I'd love it. I just don't see it on the field. Acuna seems a tad uncomfortable. I don't know why it's come out, but I think him and Ozzy are kind of like, Ozzy is bought in wholeheartedly, so he's kind of calming him down a little bit. Harris is a superstar in a rookie spot. Like, he is so good. And I actually just bought a Spencer Strider jersey with the number 99 while I was there yesterday in the patented gray Atlanta one. So somebody can't drop a drink on my white jersey and make me look like a stooge all day.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're getting into baseball, do not buy a white jersey. It's a mistake. I'm promising you.
Yeah,
It's
never do.
Do not buy a white jersey. It's going to get dingy. Every stain you get is going to show up. It's going to get dirty, and when it gets dirty, it's going to look gross. Just go buy one of the off-white ones. Go buy one of the gray ones. So when that gets dirty, it makes more sense.
Yeah, or the dark blue. You can get dark blue all day.
Yeah, or the red.
So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about baseball this year. Was just struck at the Braves being the front runner for the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to what Vaughn Grissom can do and what the rest of our bats can do. I know we got Sean Murphy in the offseason. That's a good pickup. He's a really good catcher. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised at how good he is at throwing down runners, trying to steal bases. That dude is an absolute monster at that. I think the only catcher in baseball better than him is JT Realmuto, which is who we went after a few years ago. But I think he ended up going to the Phillies. He plays for the Phillies, right? Realmuto? I don't know. But yeah, I think he's the Phillies catcher. Plays with Bryce Harper and them up in Philadelphia.
Trash.
Yeah, trash. But no, like you said, the Dodgers are going to be the Dodgers. The Mets are going to Met. That's what they do every year. They're going to collapse at some point. We'll win the division, I'm sure. But yeah, looking forward to this Braves season. I think
it took to the last two games last year, but the Braves still took the division from the Mets. And the Mets, I mean, the talking heads, especially up in New York, were telling us the Mets were going to win 120 games this season. There was no way the Braves were catching. And look at the old Bravos with our chop, whether you like it or not, coming home to win it. Did get eliminated in the playoffs, but hey, you can't win them
now.
all.
Look, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it loud, and I'm going to say it proud. People will bitch about our chop a lot, but nobody talks about Florida State's chop. Nobody talks about Kansas City's chop.
I was about to say, it was all over Kansas. Like, Arrowhead was all about it. And I don't hear jack coming out of sports media about that.
Well, that's because they're not Atlanta.
Well, the other thing, too, is that, like, people don't realize, and I didn't even realize until I think it was maybe a couple seasons ago when it started coming up. I think it was right around the same time, like, the Washington Commanders started to, find their name, and then they were the football team for a season. So, but right around that same time, they were starting to push on all of these teams, right? And so when it finally came to the Atlanta Braves, I remember they released a commercial, and they had the spokesperson from, whatever group that they represent and work with, but they were like, no, you guys don't understand all the stuff that this team does for Native Americans and for that culture and in that society. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, obviously there's a huge difference between Braves and Redskins. So, leave the Braves alone.
Right. I would also like to point out that a Brave is a warrior. The name Brave is a warrior. That person was a warrior in Native American society. So a Brave, a warrior, would be using a tomahawk to chop things. I mean, it kind of makes sense,
Right.
Yeah, and Cleveland ended up going with the Guardians. But that was just saying Cleveland Indians, and like he said, instead of the Redskins. I get the differentiation. So I don't think the Braves are ever going to change their name.
No, and I really don't. So I was just looking at odds because you mentioned it, and you said that was at Caesars that they were the favorite, right? So at BetMGM, the opening odds, they were third favorite behind the Dodgers and Astros. With the Mets, the sixth favorite. Current odds have them fifth with Mets fourth, and then Astros, Dodgers, Yankees round out the top three.
Mets are gonna met. Mets met every single year, man. That collapse last year was not an anomaly. Watch them every year, bro. It doesn't matter who they sign. It doesn't matter what their payroll is. That team is cursed. I don't know what happened. That team is cursed.
And Judge, chasing 62, powered the Yankees in their late season push last year. I don't think the Yankees get there.
Yeah, and let's talk about all the in-season cut-ins from every other single sport you wanted to watch because they thought Judge was going to get his 62nd.
Yeah, so many college football plays that I had to watch on the screen this big because we wanted to watch Aaron Judge
strike out for the ninth time in a row. Aaron Judge strike out for the ninth time in a row.
So yeah, that was it didn't bother me until we started interrupting college football, and I was like, don't take off the Georgia game to put
Agreed.
pinstripe Yankee douches on my screen.
There are two teams, according to BetMGM. There are two teams at 50,000 plus odds to win the World Series in 2023. Any guesses as to what the two teams are?
The Rockies?
Nope.
The Orioles?
Nope.
Then the A's.
The A's are one.
The A's have to be one.
Or Oakland.
The Angels?
The Nationals.
The Nationals, really?
The
They're not
A's,
that bad. I didn't. They're not that bad.
according to BetMGM, current odds for World Series 2023, A's and Nationals are both plus 50,000.
I mean, I guess it's because the Nationals have to play against the Phillies, Mets, and the Braves to get past. Yeah.
So if I put $10 on the Nats and they win, I get $500,000.
I think that math is right. I mean,
Hey, that sounds like it's not a bad $10 to spend.
There's always the chance.
But you're wasting your money if you put it on the Oakland A's. I'll tell you that
Yeah,
right. There is no chance that they are ever sniffing the World Series.
Oh man,
I'm surprised the Orioles aren't at the bottom there. I would pick the Nats to beat the Orioles over in the World Series, honestly.
Yeah, well, the Orioles are they're actually plus 6,600. So yeah, apparently BetMGM is down on the Nationals big time.
Apparently so.
All right, let's move on to some. We got some NHL news we wanted to touch on, right?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I will be at a Golden Knights game on the 1st. They play Minnesota. And looking at the past 3 weeks, they have had a pretty good push, and they're first in the Pacific with 72 points. Dallas is atop the Central. My Predators are 5th. I don't think that they make the playoffs this year, sadly, because we're 58 to 61 games into the season. They'd have to win like 12 games straight to make a push to get into the wild card. But Dallas is atop the Central. So again, that 72, 73 point range. But Boston and Carolina are disgusting. They're both at almost 90 points already. I cannot believe the Canes are doing this. I get the Bruins, but man, Carolina has came out of nowhere and just started decimating teams. And it's been pretty fun to watch, honestly. I'm kind of glad that the Golden Knights are doing what they're doing. Seattle is not reliving the first year that Vegas did, because when Vegas jumped into the league and took, James Neal and all these guys, they went to the Stanley Cup in the first year. So they didn't win it, but they went there, and the Kraken are not doing that this year. But shout out to Seattle. They've accepted hockey really well. Those games look like a lot of fun. I love the logo. I love the team name. The Kraken is really cool to me. That was outside the box thinking. So, but yeah, the NHL is kicking up, and Stanley Cup Finals will be end of April, early May, and then the Stanley Cup itself will probably be first week of June.
Well, and just shout out Golden Knights, like you said, making that push, and without Mark Stone too is even more impressive. They actually just announced yesterday that he is going to go on long-term IR with that the back surgery he underwent. So,
ouch,
not good for him, but it's impressive that they're making that push and they're atop the Pacific even without their captain there. So,
yeah. Well, that looks like it about wraps it up for this Tuesday. We will see you guys again Thursday. I don't know if we've decided on another draft or not, but we will figure that out for you guys. Be back Thursday, and then next week you will hear mostly from Nikki P and John the Stone. I will be out of country, so I will work very diligently to try to get on here. But if not, they will carry the flag, and then you guys will see it on YouTube when I get back. So, for this Tuesday, that covers everything. We've got MLB coming. Don't forget that the NFL Draft is in April. And March Madness, fill out those brackets. We will do that as well. Do a little research over the weekends, get a March Madness bracket together. That's a tongue twister. And compare to you guys. See who you've got.
Yeah, and for those of you interested in March Madness, we may be doing a March Madness giveaway. We'll see.
Ooh, shout out.
Sneaky. Also, 1 week from today, the NFL Combine starts. So.
Oh yeah, we get to touch on all that. See if anybody can beat 4.22.
1 week from today.
Hey, there's a guy that's been talking. He thinks he's going to shoot the low 4.2s. So.
We'll see.
If you can beat
There's
John
a dude
Ross
out there who's trying, so we'll see.
All right, Fam Jam, we will see you guys on Thursday. Until then, we are out.